And he makes an ask of Barr that he put out executive summaries and introductions that were written by the special counsel's team and had been reviewed for redactions already, and release those to the public so they can see more evidence right away.
And why is this so significant, especially given the timing of when this letter becomes public?
So the letter, just hours before senators are going to have to ask questions, essentially confirms something that Democrats have been fearful of and suspicious of for weeks now, which was there was a gulf between Bob Mueller and Bill Barr, and that Bill Barr kind of stepped into the void, spoke for the Mueller investigation, and didn't do so fairly.
Okay, so Nick, tell me about this hearing with Bill Barr once it actually gets started.
So Bill Barr stands, the cameras click, he puts up his right hand.
Solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give this committee is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, except you God.
And then he sits down.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member Feinstein, members of the committee.
In the same seat that just a few months ago, he pledged to senators that he would let the Mueller investigation finish and that he would make its conclusions as public as he possibly could.
As you see, Bob Mueller was allowed to complete his work as he saw fit.
And he said, look, I have done what I said I was going to do.
I told this committee that I intended to exercise whatever discretion I had to make as much of the report available.
And then he begins to shade into a kind of preemptive defense of himself.
I received a letter from Bob, the letter that's just been put into the record.
He says essentially, I was surprised to receive this. I got it out of the blue. I thought I was acting, and I think I did act in a transparent, timely way.
I was not interested in putting out summaries, and I wasn't going to put out the report piecemeal. I wanted to get the whole report out.
So basically, Barr is saying to these senators, I know you're about to ask me about this letter that Robert Mueller wrote to me, and I'm here to tell you that I had very good reasons to make the decisions I did, and Bob Mueller might be a great guy, but on this point, he's wrong.
That's right.
So I'll end my statement there, Mr. Chairman, and glad to take any questions.
Thank you very much.
And then it's the senators' turn. So what did they say?
So they make clear very quickly that there are going to be two competing stories.
So what have we learned from this report?
On the one side are the Republicans.
After all this time and all this money, Mr. Mueller and his team concluded there was no collusion.
Who say there was no collusion.
As to obstruction of justice, Mr. Mueller left it to Mr. Barr to decide after 2 years and all this time. He said, Mr. Barr, you decide. Mr. Barr did.
There was no obstruction.
I appreciate very much what Mr. Mueller did for the country. I have read most of the report.
This investigation
It is over.
Senator
Feinstein.
The Democrats have a very different story.
Contrary to the declarations of the total and complete exoneration, the special counsel's report contained substantial evidence of misconduct.
They believe that Mr. Barr has been acting as a partisan actor, and they were out to prove it.
You concluded, and I quote, that the evidence is not sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense, end quote. However, Special Counsel Mueller methodically outlines 10 episodes, some continuing multiple actions by the president to mislead the American people.
And they try and build a case that this investigation cannot end.
Congress has both the constitutional duty and the authority to investigate the serious findings contained in the Mueller report.
That the rule of law is at stake, that big ideas like the separation of powers and the accountability of presidency hang in the balance, and that to stop an investigation now would be an abdication of Congress's authority.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, so how exactly are these two sides on this committee making their cases here? Let's start with the Republicans.
So Republican senator after Republican senator seem to zoom, in most cases, first directly towards the fact that, as Barr made very clear, and as he decided in the case of obstruction, the president did not break a law.
Very quickly, give us your reasoning why you think it would be inappropriate to proceed forward on obstruction of justice in this case?
Well, generally speaking, an obstruction case typically has two aspects to it. One, there's usually an underlying criminality.
Let's stop right there.
Yeah.
Was there an underlying crime here?
No.
And then they return to another familiar Republican target. They say President Trump may have been treated with political bias, but so was the case of Hillary Clinton. She was gone easy on by many of these same FBI officials.
These are the people that made a decision that Clinton didn't do anything wrong, and a counterintelligence investigation of the Trump campaign was warranted. We're going to, in a bipartisan way, I hope, deal with Russia. But when the Mueller report is put to bed, and it soon will be, this committee is going to look long and hard at how this all started.
So this is the Republicans making the case for basically investigating the investigators, the FBI, the apparatus that brought the Russia investigation as far as it did. Because in their minds, since there are no charges, this was a kind of a smear campaign, and the focus of any investigative apparatus now should be understanding how it got this far.
That's right. And we've seen the president and some of his most conservative allies for more than a year now make this argument. But what we saw today, I think, was the full Republican Party embracing that idea that the moment has finally come where what Trump has been clamoring for is actually going to come to pass.
We'll be right back.
The Daily is supported by ADP, committed to designing a better way to work so everyone can achieve what they're working for. ADP, always designing for people. Learn more at design.adp.com. And by OneDrop, the all-in-one solution for people with diabetes. Supplies are home delivered and personal coaches help lower blood sugars. More at getOneDrop.com. And by Home Advisor, helping homeowners find local pros for their home projects. Homeowners can get matched to pros, read reviews, and check cost guides at HomeAdvisor.com. Distribution of The Daily is made possible by American Public Media.
It's The Daily on 89.7 WKSU, with support from the Akron Symphony Orchestra, presenting West Side Story. The complete Broadway score will be performed live by cast and orchestral accompaniment. It's Saturday. Tickets at akronsymphony.org. That support comes from Dayton Nurseries, a full-service garden center located in Norton, with a commitment to enrich the environment through solar power, water recycling, and reduction in the use of pesticides. Learn more at DaytonNursery.com.
I spoke with my colleague, Nick Fandos, who covered the hearing on Capitol Hill. What about the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee? How are they making their case here?
First and foremost, they start by interrogating Bill Barr about this new letter between he and Bob Mueller.
Mr. Mueller wrote that your letter threatened to undermine the central purpose for which the department appointed the special counsel. To assure full public confidence in the outcome of the investigation.
They're interested in why Bill Barr told another congressional committee a couple of weeks ago that he didn't know why Mueller or his investigators may be dissatisfied with the way he had talked about the report.
I'm somewhat troubled by your testimony here and in the other body. You appeared before the House of Appropriations on April 9th. You were asked...
He was asked in a House hearing after there were press reports of dissatisfaction on the Mueller team, what's up with that? Do you know what's behind this?
When the congressman, I believe it was Congressman Chris, asked if you knew what those members of the special counsel's team were concerned about. You testified in response No, I don't.
And he basically gave a little bit of a squishy answer, but the effect of it was no. And so senators wanted to know,
Why did you testify on April 9th that you didn't know the concerns being expressed by Mueller's team, when in fact you heard those concerns directly from Mr. Mueller 2 weeks before?
you had this letter in your hand at this point. What were you talking about? You knew what Mueller's problem was. And consistently, Barr seemed to downplay to Democrats what the significance of this lapse of time and understanding was.
I talked directly to Bob, and Bob told me that he did not have objections to the accuracy.
He essentially said, you know, this is a silly dispute. If I end up putting out the full report as I did, what difference does it make? The public can now go and view it. They can now make their own judgments.
After a months-long trial, if I wanted to go out and get out to the public what the verdict was, pending preparation of the full transcript, and I'm out there saying, here's the verdict, and the prosecutor comes up and taps me on the shoulder and says, well, the verdict doesn't really fully capture all my work. How about that great, cross-examination I did? Or how about that third day of trial where I did that? This doesn't capture everything. My answer to that is